What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? It's your active and your attractive host, Teflon from Paid to Cost Podcast, with another episode of Teflon's Corner. Today's episode is all about. I'm gonna give you some lessons on things that can improve your life. Certain things that would improve our life that we tend to not take a look at, and we tend to overlook and overshadow what's really going on. Um, right now I'm gonna give you a few things that probably will help you a little bit as far as how that'll make your life a little better, should I say? You really can't tell your power to everybody, because 80% of people really don't even care. You know, you gotta stop looking for the good in people. Instead, you gotta start looking for good people and do what's right for you. No one else is walking in your shoes, and you gotta remember that. A lot of people take that for granted because the more thankful that you are, the more you attract things to be. Thank. Um, Never let a bad day make you feel like you got a bad life. Actually, because some of us can tend to think that a bad day is what it is. But remember, every second that you spend, comparing your life to someone else, that's how you're wasting yours. Because you can actually lie down for people to walk on you, and they'll still complain that you're not flat enough. So you gotta watch how people, ungrateful people use you. And, when you're thinking about life, you always gotta remember this. No amount of guilt can change the past, and no amount of anxiety can change the future. So, you gotta remember that every person in your life is a teacher. Some bring lessons, about love and support or whatever. Others teach you, what to avoid, and you gotta watch those people real closely. You see a person's true color, when you're no longer beneficial to them, or to their life in any way. You can't. Don't get married for one, because you think it's something that you have to do. Because people tend to get married because that's what the thing is. But we actually don't have as much time as we think. You know, you know, People that you love, love them and tell them that if you make the right decision or anything, you haven't took big enough risk. You know, the life is all about risk taking, and everybody's not down for you like they say they are. You gotta what they do. Love someone enough to make them love you back. But I can tell you this: you better be careful with your words, because once they are said, they only can be forgiven, not forgotten. Don't let someone that did you wrong make you think that there's something wrong with you. Don't devalue yourself because they didn't value you. You gotta always know your worth, even if they don't. If you're willing to sacrifice for what you want most, for what you want now, then your future will always be filled with. You gotta be, single with peace of mind. It's way better than having a relationship with someone that's making your life miserable. You know, um, Sometimes you just have to say no and ignore the guilt trip that follows that, because there's going to be a guilt trip that follow that. And you remember that. Often the right thing and the hardest thing is pretty much the same. And what you do today, can improve all your tomorrow. And Sometimes in life, your situation in life keep repeating itself until you learn your lesson. And you will not be punished, for your anger. You'll be punished you'll be punished by your anger. Actually, not for your anger. You'll be punished by your anger. It don't matter if you're right sometimes. What really matters is the people that you hang around. They'll shape your life in more ways than you really know. You gotta remember this. There's no right decision to make, and in those cases, you first, you make a decision, and then you work to make it right. Because all the decisions may not be right. The greatest mistake that you can make in life is to be continuously fearing that you will make a mistake, and you gotta welcome mistakes. You know, you gotta learn to be content and be happy by yourself. I'm telling you, if you need company to be happy, then it'll make you weak. Um, you're not responsible for what other people expect from you. You know, um, you gotta you gotta understand. Not every thought needs to be expressed. And if you feel not understand that there's things in life that we really don't want to happen, but we're gonna have to accept those things. There's things that we don't want to know, but have to learn. And there's people that there's people that we can't live without. There's people that we can't live without, but then we're gonna have to let go. You know, no matter who tried to teach you lessons about life, you won't understand it until you go through it. They can tell you anything, but you got to go through it. Life lessons gonna teach you. You can start your life over anytime you want. I promise you. Because I did it. You can start to be the person, and if you can be the person that you actually want to be, who can tell you who you're not? You know, um, I'm talking like right now, and the people that act the most, it's the people that really actually get the least, to you. They're gonna always, it's always gonna be like that. You can never sacrifice these three things: your family, your heart, or your dignity. If you sacrifice any of those, then you lose. You got to remember, always look where you're going, not where you've been. Where you've been is back there. Sometimes it's not the people that change. It's the mask that falls off because they already been who they are. You got to show respect to people, even to people that don't even deserve it. Not a reflection it's not a reflection of their character, but a reflection of yours. You know, um, when you find no solution to a problem, it's probably not a problem to even be solved. But rather a truth to be accepted. Nothing ever really goes away until it teaches us, what we need to know. And I can promise you, you can't make permanent decisions on temporary emotions. I did that before, and sometimes it's best just to cut people off. No matter how hard it is. Some people just aren't even worth your stress. To understand the person's character, don't just look at their actions, observe their reactions. It's harder to fake a reaction. It's harder to fake a reaction. Because you could shock a person, like, whoa, and the way people treat you is a reflection of their character, not yours. You got to always remember that. Mistakes are proof that that we're trying because we're gonna make those mistakes. Love is not enough to make a happy relationship. Know, Being open and unafraid to communicate is important. Even if it's difficult conversation, you gotta have them sometimes. And that's what strengthens your relationship. Everything in life teaching you a lesson. And you gotta remember that. You just gotta be willing to learn a lesson that it's gonna teach you, because it's gonna teach you a lesson. The measure of a man, is the way that the way he bears up under misfortune. And if you put a man on the pedestal, they have no choice but to look down on you. I promise you. Each pain, will make you more stronger. make you more intelligent. Every disappointment make you more skillful. Each experience to me make you more wise. You know, I try to say this. When you get married, everything about your relationship and everything bad about your relationship, intensifies. Um, you teach people how to treat you, and things really change for the better in your life unless you change them. Um, you gotta understand hard times are really blessings in disguise. Let go and let life strengthen you. No matter how much it hurts, you gotta hold your head up, and keep going. That's the part of life. We don't have obstacles and setbacks. Sometimes it's a blessing, not to get what you want. And I'm cool with that. You know, um, the more you like yourself, the less you'll need others. And that's why I love myself, you know, you know, just because you're good at keeping other people's secrets, it don't mean they'll do the same for you. But keep that in mind, very often, the change in self is needed more than the change of scene. It's a difference. Know, it's possible to commit no, no mistakes and still lose, but that's not a weakness. That's life. Peace began. Inner peace began when you choose to not allow another person or event to control your emotions. That person who angers you conquers you. Just remember that they control you. You know what I mean? There could be no progress or no achievement, without sacrifice. And a man's worldly success will be in the measure that he sacrifices. So the sacrificial lamb is the one that gets it all. We advance in life when we let go of fear, and and we move out on our moves. But a man who wants something, he'll find a way, but a man who doesn't will find an excuse. Some people, you gotta remember, some people won't even like you, no matter how much you try to win their favor. That's just life. You just gonna have to take chances sometimes, and even though it can be scary and outside your comfort zone, you'll never know, what it could be unless you go for it. Um, People give you advice based on their perspective of you or their perspective of the situation. The greater danger for the most of us lies not into the settings or sitting too high and falling short, but I promise you, setting our aims too low and achieving our mark because we set our, so we still didn't make it because we set our achievements low. So be a reflection of what you want to receive. If you want love, shit, you got to give love. You want truth, you got to be truthful. If you want respect, you got to give respect. What you give out will always return. Never speak from a place of hate and jealousy or anger, insecurity. And I got to work on that. You got to evaluate your words, before they leave your lips. Because what's coming out your mouth. You only get one body, and you better take care of this. I promise you, you'll have this all your life. And while it's resilient, it only can give you what you put in. So if someone emphasizes how they're telling the truth, you can be sure that they're telling you a lie. Don't base your worth on the opinion of others. If you don't like something about your life, you got to change it. It's not. I promise you, it's not going to change for you. But you got to remember, when writing the story of your life, don't let nobody else hold the pen. Don't. Don't do anything that you'll have to lie about later. Because making others look bad doesn't make you look better, and that's the key. Because a lot of people tend to try to make other people look bad, but telling yourself is not selfish either, and that's what you got to remember. Light travels faster than sound. That's why some people, appear as bright until you hear them speak. You know, sometimes you really just need to relax and have faith that things will work out. Let go a little, and you gotta let go a little, and just let life happen. Life is inherently risky, but there's only one big risk that we should avoid at all costs, and that's the risk of doing nothing, just merely existing. You know, you're the only person that got to be with yourself 100% of the time. So you better start liking and loving yourself and who you are. I promise you. Overthinking rules you. Yes, it does. You know, um, sometimes painful things can teach us lessons that you got to be happy, on your own, and don't be having to seek out somebody else to validate. You got to act like you have been there before. Um, you must welcome change as a rule, to tell you the truth, but not as your ruler. You know, just because things could have been different, don't mean they'll be better. I promise you. Life don't get easier or more forgiving. We get stronger. And more resilient. And we actually get stronger. Not the mistakes that defines one's character. But the manner in what you respond to those mistakes. Because every reaction don't need it. Everything don't need a reaction. Just remember this: people will disappoint you. So never put all your trust into anyone. I had to learn that the hard way. Um, Hard work doesn't always guarantee success either, but laziness almost guarantees failure. I promise you. Nothing from nothing gonna lead to nothing. You'll never be truly happy if you constantly, seek validation from somebody else. Um, Anything you start to take or lack attitude toward, it's fooling you. Um, the pursuit of perfection, is futile. Aim for progress instead. Your self worth is not negotiable. Never settle for anything or anyone that diminishes your self worth. You got to be careful what you tolerate. You are teaching people how to treat you. Um, you will never be 100% sure about a decision, but always make a decision because it's better to go back. Get on your bed and lay down. You got to learn to say no without feeling guilty, because I'm going to tell you something: it protects your time and your priorities. Chasing happiness will only lead you to misery until you realize, that happiness is the way, actually. Um, maybe you're not healing because you're trying to be who you were before. That person don't even exist no more. And that's what you gotta realize. It's a new you that's trying to be born. You gotta breathe life into that new person. It would always be someone that really can't see your work. Don't let it be you. You know, you learn, you learn nothing from life if you think you're right all the time, for one. Um, no one actually owes you anything. You have to work for what you want, in life, period. That's just, there's a things that we don't want to happen, but we have to accept. There's things that we don't want to know, but have to learn. And there's people that we can't live without. But like they say, we gotta let them go. It's a part of life. You know, um, a lot of times what you want requires consistency and discipline. So your entire life can change in an instant. So instead of passively taking what you have for granted, whatever good you can with it. The worst kind of enemies are those, who pretend to be your friend. The action of man is the best. You know, never decide what you can and what you can't do based on your lowest point in life. Um, you gotta only put off until the you're willing to die for and not having undone. You know, the harder your life become, I promise you, the faster you'll reach your goals. You gotta remember that. Excuses won't fix your problems. You gotta take responsibility for your actions. You're gonna have to accept that you're gonna make mistakes. And you gotta learn from those that are dwelling on them. Um, you gotta befriend those, who expand your thinking, not just your circle. Um, you gotta avoid making decisions when you're angry and avoid making promises, when you're happy. Excuse me. You'll never understand the damage that you did to someone. You got to be careful, who you let into your life. Because people will come, they'll drain the shit about you and then they'll leave and then blame it on you. Um, maturity is when you have the power to destroy someone who did you wrong, and let life take care of them. You know what I'm saying? That's the better way. Um, you are the only person that you control. You got to be humble enough to know that you can lose everything, but be confident enough to know that you're going to get it back. I mean, every time you try, you're making progress. I promise you. Um, you got to spend so much time on self improvement. You have no time to criticize others, and that's what have been my problem. Smart people stop overthinking, and once we understand that the best decisions require more gut feeling than pure intellect. Man, it all begins in your mind. What you give power to have power over you. And that was hard for me to work on. I had to work on mastering my mind, and that was hard for me. You know, those excuses was always there, and I was always it was easy for me to make. But finding my way is what I had to do, and it took courage. Be smart enough to realize that life ain't gonna wait for you to be okay. Life gonna keep going, but don't allow nobody to treat you poorly just because you love them either. You know, every time you lie to someone, you're creating a problem that you'll have to deal with in the future. You got to do the right thing now. Um, that one who believes in himself has no need to convince others of who he is. Learn to miss someone without mourning them back. And if life wasn't hard, sometimes you gotta accept that some people can only be in your heart, not in your life. The only way that you can feel better about yourself is to do things worth feeling good about. Um, sacrificing long-term joy for short-term pleasure. It's the easy recipe for regret. I promise you. You don't want to get into regret. Don't be scared to set boundaries in your relationships with anybody. Life becomes easier when you learn to accept the apology that you never got. The first step, toward getting somewhere is to decide, look, I'm not going to stay where I am. So, slow success builds character. Fast success, it builds ego. You know what I mean? So can't nobody tell you nothing. You know what I mean? You got the big head. So if you don't separate yourself from your distractions will separate you from your goals. I promise you. By doing what everybody does, you guarantee, average results. Focus your attention on, creating the life that you want instead of, distracting yourself, from your current life. When your motive is sincere, it's not you who loses anyone. It's others who lose you. And you gotta not be worried about that. When you know yourself, you stop fearing missing out on things and it's not meant for you. The easiest way to destroy your self-confidence, to tell you the truth, is to constantly break the promises, that you make to yourself, to appease someone else. You gotta stop cheating on your future with your past. I'm telling you. That's a bad relationship. You grow as much as the amount of truth that you're willing to accept about yourself, without running away. Because you got to accept the truth about yourself. All failures, it's pretty much temporary, when you keep trying, I promise you. When you blame someone else for your problems, you're giving them, you're actually giving them power over you. You're allowing them to define and dictate your happiness and your well-being, to tell you the truth. So it's like a puppet. Trust. Tell you the truth. Trusting blindly often lead to betrayal. The only person that really needs to understand is really actually you. It's your life. Life get better once you stop assuming, that you'll have more time later. Gotta be proactive, my boy. Each day should be a step forward. Progress. The first to apologize really is the bravest in anything. First to forgive is the strongest. The first to forget is the happiest, to tell you the truth. So I'm happy. No single thing will solve all your problems but God. No goal, no achievements, or no relationships, or no one will ever fix you. God will only fix you. That's not as a reflection of their character. That's a reflection of yours, of your character, who you are. You gotta let your light shine. Well, and I tell you, whatever you do, winning isn't everything, but you always win if you're always satisfied that you could. You set your own standards. You got to find your why. Your why is the whole foundation of your goal. And it provides meaning to your actions. You got to find out why. It's the deep personal reason that drives your ambition. So with when you have your ambition and you and your dreams, you got to take responsibility for all your problems also, and that'll alleviate more suffering, than the accident. So, you got to be who you are, and pretty much say what you feel. My daddy always told me those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't even mind. When you talk, you only repeat what you already know. If you listen, you may learn something. Never date a person that you probably wouldn't also be friends with, and that's key. The more hard lesson that you can learn, curiosity, rather than your own hard experience, I promise you, the better. Healing also, take you. It's kind of like you got to take a road, take a look at the road that you play in your own suffering. You know, so you got to actually really challenge yourself. That's the only path to growth. Challenging yourself, tell you the truth, ignoring red flags because you want to see the good in people that'll cost you later. You know, peace don't mean being in a place where there's no trouble or no hard work or nothing. Peace means to be in the midst of those things and still be calm in your heart. Not taking things for granted. Man, avoid people who use their pain as an excuse to hurt you, because they ain't no excuse to hurt you because people ain't got pain. And another thing, don't let people know too much about you. Most people don't care. And when you react, you lose power. So watch your reactions to things. Perfectionism, is a disease. We strive for perfection. Procrastination is a disease. Action is the cure, though. Excuse me. Go where you are appreciated. Not just tolerated. Fix your body before fixing anything else. Having a weak body is an reflection of your broken mind. It's a reflection of your willpower, your lack of willpower and discipline, and your piss poor life choices. Some disconnections will bless your life. I promise you. True success, don't depend on seeking validation, from others. It stems from, seizing opportunities, proving what you're capable of, and accomplishing your goals, despite your challenges. When you find someone smarter than you, work with them. Don't get intimidated by them. Never expect to get what you give. Not everyone has a heart like you. I promise you. Your mental state determines your experience in your, of life. Prioritize your mental health. Like you would your physical health. Exercise your mind. With new challenges. Positive self-talk. Life is difficult. Because we don't appreciate the things that comes easily. You can't let loneliness drive you to make temporary decisions, with long-term consequences. Right. Once you're in the right direction in life, you stop getting offended and angry all the time, because you have so much better to do, with your time. I had to learn that. Your growth depends on you're willing to keep learning. Keep your personal life private, not telling everyone everything, even when you got a lot to say. It's top tier self-care. That's where you get yourself better at. Find your relationship where you naturally, being you makes the other person happy. One of the most dangerous things that you can do is compare your life to someone else's. It's not a race. It's a journey. And it's your journey. Don't give up after your first failure. Failure is just a detour on the road to success. Just because you can't see the point behind the challenge in time doesn't mean there isn't one. I promise you. You just got to trust the process. And when you believe, your mind find a way. to do what it's going to do. You got to embrace the long game. Patience, it's the ultimate competitive, advantage that you're going to have in life. You know, actually, your future needs you. Your past don't need you because it's back there. Your future needs you because you're walking toward that. And as you continue to do that, your journey will get easier. So being true to yourself will lead to loneliness, but I promise you, it's worth it. Um, you'll be pulled down out of jealousy. Don't get surprised. It's normal. I promise you. Um, it's scary when things change, but it's even scarier, when they don't, because they're supposed to change. Things supposed to change, but the truth is, everyone is going to hurt you. You just got to find the ones worth suffering for. On a day when you don't come across any problems, you can be sure that you're traveling in the wrong path. The magic that you're looking for, I promise you, it's in the work that you're avoiding. Chances make champions. You must discipline yourself carefully. You must keep the promises that you make to yourself. And reward yourself, so that you can trust and motivate yourself. Defined by opportunities, even the opportunities that we miss, our lives are still defined by those. When you build in silence, no one knows, when to attack. Pain only leaves you when it teaches you something. Some lessons have to be learned, twice, 3 times, 4 times, but being cool, calm, and collective in a stressful situation is extremely important. I'm telling you. That don't mean that, you need to suppress your emotions. Just don't let them get the better of you. That's what that means. You control your emotions. The more you spend clinging on the past, the less likely your future will be any brighter. I promise you. Because you're dwelling back there so much. The only failure that you can have is not trying. The only rejection is not asking. The only mistake, is not risking anything. Life is all about risk taking. So if you can't say no, then your yes mean nothing. I promise you. People want you to succeed, but often know more that they want to succeed for themselves. So they want to see you surpass them. Stop overestimating others, man, and underestimating yourself. I'm known. I'm known to know that you get power for some. Life has a way of working out things, even if it seems impossible, and you just gotta trust the process. And you should never sacrifice what you could be for what you are. You don't have to prove nothing to nobody. Actually including yourself. Luck comes to those who work hard. Good things do not come to those who wait. Not at all. Don't make one person the center of all your happiness. You can't make the reason that why you're happy or anything, because once that person walk away from your life, you're left with nothing. When you feel like giving up, you got to remember why you hold on for so long. And you never put relationships before your goals. You may lose them both. Because it's all about you. Remember this: you can fall in love more than once. You don't need to worry, much when someone, you gotta remember, you might have to make practical decisions about what you want in life and about what you're willing to give up. And if you don't make those decisions, then life will make them for you. And you don't want life to make those decisions for you. Changes happen when we go against everything that we're used to doing. That's when changes happen. Failure shows us the way by, show us what isn't the way. That's how you can show you the way, by showing you what isn't the way. Bad after making the right decision. No matter how nice and how friendly you are, some people, would dislike you anyway. No matter what you do, don't waste your time on them anyway. Um, you know, bad times are actually wrong. Because actually they wake you up to the good things that you never paid attention to. Then your eyes are open, and you never try to gain somebody's sympathy. The people that care about you will be there for you when you need them. You don't need to show them that that they best friend. You don't need to show them that. You don't need to prove that to nobody. You can't make nobody love you by giving them more of what they already don't appreciate anyway. Because you shortcutting yourself and who you are, just to benefit, someone that don't even appreciate you being you. Most of the time, you gotta really actually, money ain't gonna guarantee happiness, but poverty actually can bring significant challenges because they have in my life. But hiding from our problems, we still won't make them disappear. All we gotta do is we still gotta face them. That's the only way to grow. And that's how we had to face the poverty. But regrets and shit like that, they can linger for a lifetime if you don't. Time spent comparing yourself to others, it's time spent on wasteful thoughts, man. That's wasteful thoughts. People will often take advantage of your kindness if you let them. So you got to remember that problems ain't really always like we really think. Problems are pretty, because your obsession with finding happiness a lot, that prevents you from getting it, because you're obsessed on getting it. So you're not gonna get it. You got to actually treat yourself like someone who's responsible of helping, because you treat them with kindness. You got to treat yourself with that. I remember when I was young, many relationships, didn't work. It was kind of like practice. It was kind of like practice. Until you actually is practice until you really get married. So at once. But remember this: your friends, your family always really don't know what's best for you. The greatest sin is to think of yourself. You can't allow nobody to treat you bad. Because how you feel about them in your heart. In this life, knowing when to mind your own business and when to speak up. It's a life lesson that takes time, but once you know when to react or retract, I promise you, life goes really more smoothly, because you know when to react and how to react and what to react for. But you got to take chances sometimes. Sometimes it can be scary and outside your comfort zone, but you'll never know what it could be unless you go for it. So chances make champions. The big secret in life is there is no big secret. Whatever your goal is, you can get there if you're willing to work. You got to work for it. If you do not make yourself, indispensable, you'll be unemployed soon. In your life, never let your life become completely dependent on anyone. You always got to be ready to support yourself financially, mentally, and physically. You got to give yourself that. A wise man can learn more from his enemy than a fool from his friends. Remember that. We walk away from our dreams afraid we might fail, or worse yet, that we may succeed. Some people are scared to win. Because they've never jumped on that side of the grass. But you can't expect everyone to be good to you. But at the same time, you can't be good to everyone either. First, it's during the worst times of your life that you'll get to see the true colors of the people who say they care for you. I promise you. If you never heal from what hurt you, you'll bleed on people who didn't cut you. You can never expect and never put too much trust in anyone. But don't stick with, bad friends just because, you've known them for a long time. Our wounds, are often the openings of the best and the beautiful part of us. It takes wounds. Usually, people only want to hear the good, not the bad. But both of them identify you. Because everybody just want to hear the good. But numbing the pain for a while will make it worse when you finally feel it. So when a defining moment usually come on, you can do one of two things in your life. You can define the moment or let the moment define you. Them the only two things that can happen. You gotta stay away from narcissists. They don't play by any rules, I promise you. They will suck the life out of you slowly. Man, you need to learn how to select your thoughts the same way you select your clothes every day. This is the power that you can cultivate. If you want to control things in your life so badly, you got to work on the mind. That's the only thing that we should be able to try to control. That's the only thing we can control is our mind. No matter what good we do to people, they will only remember our mistakes. I promise you. Situation, life asks us a question, and our actions are the answer. Our job is the simplest to answer well. You got to say no sometimes to your desire to be perfect because you won't be perfect. Otherwise, you won't be able to improve further. Because you gonna have put those first that don't put you first will make your shit painful. I promise you. You got to determine where you're going in your life. You can't get there unless you move in that direction. Random wondering won't move you unhappy. And actually hard to get along with at times. So dreams without goals, I promise you, are just dreams. You gotta let go. You shouldn't be holding on to something that make you feel that way. In the first place. The truth is, the bad things don't affect us as profoundly as we expect them to. That's true of good things too, but we adapt easily to either. And talk to you, like you beneath them, they will likely do you harm. Whether relationally, socially, or physically. You got to remove that person from your life. I promise you. Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness. And the word happy will lose its meaning if it wasn't balanced by sadness. That's the yin and the yang, because everything has that to it. You can't be happy with someone else if you're not happy with yourself. You can't be afraid of life. You got to believe that life is worth living. And your belief, I promise you, it'll help create the fact. You know what I mean? The fact of why you're living and why you're doing. Holding grudges will never harm people that you hurt. That you know what I mean? That you hate. Only you. You know what I mean? So you can't hold those grudges, my boy or baby girl. You know. You don't realize, the true value of the moment until it's becoming a memory. And man, do we have some memories? Emotions and seems to be suffering, and it seems to be suffering when we get a clear picture of it. People's actions usually tell the truth about them, not their words. Real growth is when you start checking and correcting yourself instead of blaming others. You take your power back by being responsible for your life. If you can't understand, you got to look at the consequences of their actions, and whatever they might be, and then infer the motivation, from their consequences. The biggest risk is not taking any risk. In a world that's changing really quickly, the only strategy this is pretty much guaranteed to fail is not taking risk. Tomorrow never comes, because it's always today. And that's crazy. You know, so I Paid the Cost podcast. And it's another episode from Teflon's Corner. Paid the Cost podcast. Push that like button. Go subscribe. You get more. It's another episode of Black Media, sponsored by Paid the Cost podcast. Your boy Teflon.